bueno, mi gente. It is Thursday and not much going on this boxing weekend. Here's what I'll tell you about what's coming up this weekend. Conor Benn is fighting Dobson. And I'll tell you what I'm doing, and I'll tell you this is as deep as I'm getting with this fight this weekend, as it's getting Conor Benn back busy. And if Dobson pulls off the upset, I love chaos, and that would be hilarious, and we'll have a good time with that. But as far as the fight, done my film study on Dobson, and I'm telling you, I'm betting Conor Benn 1-6. Conor Benn stoppage 1-6. When there are fights to talk about that I feel are meaningful to talk about, we talk about them. Over on Twitter, we talk about the pro box fights. We talk about the cards coming up this weekend, what I'm betting. And I throw this out because I already know what dudes do with their stuff. And they're like, why don't you talk about this? And why don't you talk about that? And I do. And I tell you that when I talk about that stuff, apparently the market doesn't like when we talk about that stuff, even though they tell us that they like when we talk about that stuff, because the market doesn't react when we talk about that stuff. I'm just being honest with you about what we have here. And there's an equation here and there's a formula here. And we're doing the best we can with it. And that you talk about certain topics, you trickle in other topics that are meaningful and that are going to give exposure to lesser known topics. And I feel like that's the best way to do this, to where it pleases everybody. And we're able to talk about meaningful discussions, both lower tier and upper tier. I don't know what else to tell you. Shout out to Nando Yamas, Azim versus Buatsi, a good fight on Peacock this weekend as well. Yes. Although I don't like the business decisions that Buatsi has made. Let me say that. I feel like his career could be further along than it is right now had he made better business decisions up to this point. Good fight nonetheless, but I'm staying away from it as far as betting odds. I'll tell you that. So y'all hit the like button as y'all come in. And we're going to stream through this. This one's going to be fast paced. I'm going to get my thoughts out. This is going to be one of the scoreboard reading episodes. It's not I told you so. It's just to remind people of things we've talked about, and they're playing out in real time right now. And you're going to still see these dudes out here say, nuh-uh, it's not happening that way. And just wait. You just wait and see. This dude's is a Stockholm syndrome. Just wait. We're playing 8D chess right here. 8D chess, 5D chess, 6D chess. We're playing it right in front of you. You just can't see the moves. You can't see them. You're not intelligent enough to see the moves. You're just not intelligent enough to see the moves. And you're just a boxing fan. You don't understand the business of boxing and why we're doing the things we're doing right now, and why the people who are in the suits, who are in charge of things, are moving the way they're moving. You're not strategic, and you're not intelligent enough to see the things that are going on. And that's what we're going to have. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to poke fun at those dudes, because what I've learned is old money does not like being poked fun at. It doesn't. And that's why I enjoy doing it. Leonard Ellerby is quote tweeting me again yesterday on Twitter saying he's orchestrating all kind of massive deals. You just don't show me the deals that you've orchestrated. Show me the deals that you've done. Leonard, first of all, he's not answering my question. The question was, can Leonard explain why there are only 200,000 hardcore boxing fans, diehard boxing fans, as he says, left in America? Can he explain why that is? And I just wanted that on record, because I already know what the explanation is going to be. It's not going to be the answer. It's going to be the alibi. It's going to be the excuse. But I just want it on record. That's all I wanted. I don't expect to get an honest answer from dishonest people. I don't. And that's what you have in boxing. You have these fake entrepreneur types who are just salesmen, and they're snake oil salesmen. And they go to the boxing business because it's low-hanging fruit. And we've explained that. And what I don't want, and what I find amusing, and this isn't Ellerby, this is other dudes in the space. A lot of them have YouTube channels. And I got another dude who you would know, quote tweeting me this morning when I bring out Keith Thurman. How in the hell is Keith Thurman The main event, the face of a pay-per-view main event in 2024. How is that happening? I got a dude with a YouTube channel who's in the boxing business, who has been in the boxing business, and he would know better than boxing fans, because boxing fans are actually the problem. They're actually the problem. Telling me that it's actually a good move and it's better than Devin Haney. And why are you even bringing up Devin Haney? How is he even in this equation? You must have me mistaken for somebody else, because when Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis was announced as a main event pay-per-view, I trashed it. And people were coming to my channel saying, your boy Prograis in the main event. He's a main event pay-per-view and he shouldn't be. And I want to see how you react to that. And I reacted accordingly. And I said, this shouldn't be a pay-per-view. When we get news that Canelo versus Mal Charlo might be the fight in May, and then Bud in September, what do I come on here and say? The Mal Charlo? Mal Charlo. That's the fight? It's trash. Trash. And you see how easy that is? And I told you in 2024, man, I'm tired of over-explaining things. I'm tired of going out of my way to explain things to people who just, their comprehension is bad. Are they just going to believe what they want to believe about me? And I learned a long time ago that just be who you are, because they're going to believe what they want anyway. It's fine. And that would be my advice to people. Whatever. But it's frustrating when you go out of your way to make this long post, right, about your pound for pound list and why it is the way it is, and explanations as to why fighters are in your criteria, when other, even big publications, are not doing this. And then you don't have Lomachenko in your top 10, and then you got dudes coming at you calling you racist and all kind of stuff because Lomachenko's in your top 10, and he's not in the top 10. Not in it. And then when Keith Thurman versus Tszyu is announced as a main event pay-per-view, when I first found out about this fight, and I told D-Style when this fight was announced, so what's the main event? It's like, it's going to be Tszyu versus Keith Thurman's the fight. That Tszyu's fighting Keith Thurman. I was like, okay, so what's the main event? That's the co-main. So what's the main? And he said, no, you don't understand. That's the main event. And I said, get the hell out of here. That's the main event? That's the main event on the Amazon inaugural first PBC on Amazon main event, and it's a pay-per-view, and that's the main event. Is that what you're telling me? He's like, yeah, that's it. So I was like, the card must be stacked. So who's the co-main? And this one, it got really funny, and he said, it's Raleigh versus Isak. It's like, I had to check my calendar. I said, it's not April 1st. So this isn't an April Fool's joke. Like, you're serious. I'm serious. And it shouldn't have been like, that should have been like, I should have heard that and been like, yeah, that makes sense, because it's PBC. And it should make sense from them up to this point. It should make sense, right? I should have heard that and said, yeah, that makes sense. But even to them, it's shocking. It's shocking. And it should make sense, because I said when I found out Amazon Prime, I was like, it's going to be more of the same. Just copy and paste it from Showtime. It's just more of the same PBC, right? It's just a different platform, same day. And you're getting the same things. But it's frustrating because you come out and you trash that as a main event on a pay-per-view, right? And you come on your channel that day and trash it. And then we have Glenn Jennings on the show, and Glenn Jennings knows how we feel about the card and it being a pay-per-view, but we also want to give the manager's point of view and go out of our way to ask questions in which we know the perception is going to be, look at these dudes over here. They have Tszyu's manager on the show again. So like, how is it possible that Calix can simultaneously fit Canelo's balls in his mouth while he also has Tszyu's balls in his mouth. Pause. It's a perception, right? And that's why I don't like having people on the show, and why many years ago, a decade ago, look, Scott Hill, when we did Hailstorm Sports, he told me when we go to events, dude, it's so easy to get interviews. God, it's so easy to get interviews. These dudes are, they're whores for a camera. People in the boxing business and fighters and managers, they want to be in front of a camera. So it's easy. But at the same time, and I understand why the perception is this way, because 99% of the channels behave in such a manner, but we go out of our way, and Glenn knows this about us because we talked to Glenn about this off the air, that this isn't pay-per-view worthy. And you have to understand that the American market is going to see this much different than the Australian market, but it's not his job to worry about that. But it's our job as boxing fans to worry about that, right? So I get into nuanced territory and I say, it makes sense for Keith Thurman. It makes sense for Tszyu to do it this way. But as a whole, this is terrible. This is terrible. It's awful. This is an awful rollout to a platform, and this does not belong on pay-per-view. And it's tough to do because people tuning in right now who may be Tszyu fans, they're going to be turned off by this type of talk. But once again, it's frustrating because you got to go out of your way to explain we love everything that's going on with Tszyu. The people that we do interview is strategic to help these people. Tiara Brown, we interviewed her last year, is because she's having trouble getting fights, and we want to help her because she's everything that's right about the sport. She's undefeated. She's doing what she got to do. Not as marketable as a Sky Nicholson, but she's better. And we're like, give this girl a fight. All the trash that y'all put on TV, give this girl a fight on the undercard, for the love of God. Iriarte, we have him on the channel. See what's going on with this kid. He's popular. Like he's gonna be a really good fighter. Let's see what's going on. But we strategically ask him, and I ask him about activity. You want to be active? You want to fight the fights? Are you willing to walk into your promoter's office and say, "Give me this fight date"? And he's kind of iffy with it. But there's a reason I asked the question. When Loeffler brought out Golovkin to America, they marketed him a specific way, and they kept him busy. Kept him busy. And they said, we're not waiting around for anybody. And I know the Golovkins, Mexicans for Golovkin crowd turned people off. I get all that stuff, man. And I know y'all don't like the pandering. I understand that stuff, and you felt he was overrated, all that stuff. But they moved that guy the right way. This dude's from Kazakhstan, for the love of God. And he's selling out arenas on both sides of the country. And he's one of the few fighters in the sport who got lucrative, real marketing deals. But we point that out. That's what's right about the sport, how Loeffler's moving some of these guys. A Callum Walsh, he's moving him right. We don't know if he's going to reach a ceiling, but he's moving him correctly at least. And you might want to pay attention to this, because this is what we need. Fighters who are free, fighters who are able to get activity and able to get their dates and aren't going to wait around for anybody. So what bothers me is, and we're going to trash the press conference in a minute and all that stuff, but what bothers me is people start to throw Tszyu into this mix of this guy's overrated, you're overhyping him, all that stuff. And if that's how you feel, that part's fine. That's fine. But what bothers me is, why is he fighting Keith Thurman? Why is he doing this? You guys are overhyping him. We're just trying to point out that this is an example of what you want fighters to be doing right now. We asked Glenn Jennings the question specifically because we know the answer, because we talked to him off air about this stuff. But how do you feel about the American market, and is it going to change how you move? And he says no, because we know the American market and we know the gridlock that comes with it. We know the temperament of these fighters, and it's why it's refreshing to hear Tszyu at the after the press conference yesterday doing interviews, and he's saying, I don't care about this bullshit with A side, B side. Let's fight. Let's fight. And Glenn Jennings is echoing this. That's their team. That's their attitude. It's their philosophy. A side, B side, all this stuff that you American dudes worry about. We're bringing a different type of energy to America. And we're just pointing out that if you're just a good-natured boxing fan, you may like that. You probably should like that, or you can continue to take what you're getting. Would you like Tszyu to sit around and wait for one of these dudes to come to the table and just not fight? And then if he takes fights in Australia, you dudes are still going to complain. Why is he fighting bums in Australia? When's he going to come to America? Why is he hiding out in Australia? What do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? And when I say these things, I'm going to be caping and capping for Tszyu, right? How is it possible that Calix is fitting so many balls in his mouth at the same time? That's what the stuff I'm going to get. I'm not saying that to complain. I'm just saying, you dudes, man, you've been brainwashed to speak out against your own interests. And this is from dudes that I know saying this stuff, both directly in the chat and indirectly, because it comes back to me. It gets back to, do you really think, fellas, human nature, fellas, do you really think if you know somebody and I know somebody, and by the way, you have my phone number, if we both know somebody and you tell that person something about me that is not going to come back to me? Really? Really? But as far as the press conference, it gets to the press conference. And once again, I'm trashing the main event. Trashing it right now. And once again, I'm trashing Canelo versus Charlo if that fight happens in May. Preemptive strike. Trash. 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 Trash, 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 trash. Mel sucks. Trash. Trash, trash. Trash, 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 trash. Tszyu. Keith Thurman versus Tszyu. And by the way, Keith Thurman, is his name is first on the poster. And when this fight was announced for the main event, that's what D-Style told me. He's like, dude, and it's with Tim Bradley. I should have played the clip. Tim Bradley is on ESPN, and he's saying, this makes me want to cancel my Amazon on Prime membership. This is awful. Like, these dudes are dumb. Tim Bradley just says, these dudes are dumb. And that's what D-Style told me when this was announced. He said, Calix, you're not understanding. Even you are giving them too much credit. They think that Keith Thurman is a bigger name than he is right now. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. At best, they're just copying and pasting this, going along as they, and it's a GoFundMe business model. But either way, it's trash. It's awful. Terrible. They put Keith Thurman's name first on the poster in 2024. This dude has 4 fights since the Obama administration. He has 1 win in the past 4 years, and he's first on the poster, face on the poster, in 2024 for a pay-per-view main event. For the love of God, what the hell is wrong with y'all? And these are the dudes people are telling me are the smartest in the room. They are so much smarter than you, Calix. You just don't understand. You don't understand. And I'm telling you, man, like, I'm doing these streams in the middle of the day, and I'm getting frustrated with dudes, man, from many different angles right now. And I'm sorry, it's going to be one of those shows where the frustration is going to show, because I just do this as a boxing fan, just for the love of it. I don't even monetize my videos anymore, fellas. And all I ask y'all to do is like my videos. I don't ask y'all to send me super chats and tap dance for the super chats and all this stuff. I don't have cool sounding stuff when you give me a super chat. Whatever, just hit the like button. That's all I ask. It's going to be one of those shows, because I'm tired of being humble around these dudes that are making 3 figures as low-level boxing guys, and think they're in the business, telling me I don't know anything about the business of boxing. You're just a boxing fan. You're just a stupid boxing fan who probably just steals the fights. Let me ask you, gurus of genius boxing guys, a question. What is 0 divided by 200 million? Did y'all see Raleigh yesterday? And Raleigh's on there yesterday promoting the press conference. He's promoting a press conference that is only going to be showed on PBC's YouTube channel. And on PBC's website that they don't even update, by the way. And he's saying, and he's got a chain. It's got a chain of himself. It's like, it's not this. It's not a cross, nothing. It's a chain of himself. Life-size chain pendant on the chain of himself, Raleigh. He's got a fur coat on, and he's promoting. He's got a fur coat on, and he's promoting the press conference. And he's saying, they're asking him, like, why'd you go? And we're all wondering it. We're all wondering, like, how you were supposed to fight Ryan on a main event pay-per-view. You know that, right? And he's like, why would I go over there? And the guy's like, well, even him, he's like baffled. Like, why would you go over there? What do you mean? It's Ryan. It's a pay-per-view. And he's like, why would I go over there on a platform that has 20 million, whatever it has? I don't know what the zone has. Why would I go over there and help them out when I can go to a platform that has 200 million people? And I got more money to go over here. And I'm thinking, they paid him more money to fight Isak than to fight Ryan on a pay-per-view. Huh. But I'm also thinking, like, he turned down a Ryan Garcia pay-per-view to go and fight Isak on the undercard of Keith Thurman versus Tszyu. Who the hell instructed him to do that? And why would they do that? And just think about that. And we'll leave that out in the universe. Just think about it, though. Just think about why he would be instructed to do that, and why he would be. Raleigh's more than a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. We've established that, right? We've established that. But some of these PBC fighters, and the PBC fans specifically, when it was Amazon on Prime announced as a new platform, they started saying things like 200 million. I'm like, 200 million? Where's that coming from? They're like, you don't understand. They got 200 million consumers. And you don't understand. This is way bigger than what we were dealing with Showtime, because Showtime only had this amount, and Amazon on Prime now has 200 million. 200 million. So we have exposure to 200 million people. I'm like, oh my God, 200 million. Oh my God. I'm playing along with them, right? Oh my God, 200 million. Are you serious? 200 million people are going to be exposed to boxing? Oh my God, that's incredible. These dudes think that 200 million people are going to be exposed to boxing. And they start to do this funny math with me. And they're saying, you don't understand, Calix. 10% of 200 million is 20 million. So let's say they only get 20. Let's say they only get 1%. That's 2 million. You're talking about millions of people watching boxing. That's what we're dealing with. Millions of people buying pay-per-views because now we have a new app. And I'm listening to this stuff. And I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice here when they're doing this math. And yesterday, I'm watching this roll out with the press conference. And shout out to my guy, the only Sanch, Drew, on Twitter. And he's sending me this stuff. He's like, Calix, the press conference isn't on the platform. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the Amazon on Prime pay-per-view press conference is not on Amazon Prime. So now we have a new equation. And the equation goes as this. Y'all know how to do math, right? Is that right there? That right there? Y'all know division, right? And when you divide by 0, it equals 0. So if my math is right, I could be wrong with this, so I'll just throw it out there. I threw the poll out on Twitter. What's 0 divided by 200 million? Is it 200 million? Is it 1? Is it 5? Is it 2? Is it 0? If you have a platform and this platform moves over to an app with 200 million people, let's do this math problem in our head real quick. The platform PBC moves over to Amazon on Prime, and Amazon on Prime has 200 million consumers. Wow. What a boss move. 200 million. Forget that it's an app, and forget that if you're If you're fighting on an app yesterday, if you were fighting on an app, then you're just not doing it. Doesn't matter what app it is, just not doing it, right? You're just not doing it. You got to fight on Showtime if you want to be doing it. You got to fight on a cable if you want to be doing it. But 200 million platform. Now we got something. Now we're cooking with hot grease. Now that's a platform. Okay, so we got that established. So the platform moves to Amazon Prime and it's 200 million. That's good. Okay, good. So if this platform airs a press conference that is not on that app, how many of those 200 million consumers were exposed to that press conference on the app? Let's do that math problem in our head real quick. So it's 200 million, but none of them saw the press conference on the app. So that's zero. So you plug 0, 200 million, and you get 0. 0. And if I didn't know any better yesterday, I would have thought this was a BLK Prime. Not an Amazon Prime, but a BLK Prime press conference. That's what I would have thought I was watching had I not known better. The only thing that this was missing from the BLK Prime rollout was they actually ironed you got to give them credit for this. They ironed the backdrop. They ironed it. Unlike the BLK Prime backdrop, which was wrinkled. They didn't iron it. And then you didn't have a host like myself saying, hit the like button. Remember the BLK Prime guy saying, y'all hit the like button for us. Let's get the numbers up. And to BLK Prime's credit, they actually had more viewership than this press conference got yesterday. It peaked at about 3.5 yesterday. I don't mean 3.5 million because maybe, just maybe, if it was on the Amazon Prime, maybe it would have done 3.5 million, right? Because 200 million people are exposed to it, right? So maybe they would have tapped into the press conference. But instead, you had 3,500 people that it peaked at yesterday. And BLK Prime did more than that because they showed it on PBC's YouTube channel. So there was no PBC representative. And I've explained to you from the very beginning, of the very root, the very core of the PBC model is flawed from the beginning. Why? Because you got a guy, we can't say this, right? Because litigation and all this stuff, but he's acting as a manager and promoter. And you can't do that. That's the Muhammad Ali Act. And the journalists will tell you he's not doing that. He's not doing it here. So he's an advisor. So an advisor has to have a shadow promoter. So you have the real promoter who can't act like a promoter, and he can't show his face because he can't answer these questions, by the way, and he can't promote anything because he can't do interviews or anything. So he can't show up and promote anything. So then he has a shadow promoter who has the personality of a brick wall. Going to these events. And Jimmy Lennon Jr. is doing his best up there. He's doing his best. You know, the podium is like up to his knees, unfortunately, but he's doing his best. What he's got, he's doing his best. And they have to manufacture this silly Mexican thing yesterday. I'm not even watching the press conference, but D-Style text me. He's like, you got to turn this on. You got to turn this on. You got to see this. You wouldn't believe some of the text messages that I get. And I wake up to some of them. And the DMs that I get. And the phone calls and voicemails that I get. You got to see this. You got to see this. And he's like, Callis, please turn this on. You got to see this. But he's aggravated because, dude, this is so scripted. The Mexican thing. And Keith, he's trying. He's 35 years old. His hairline's pushed back almost as far as mine. He's got a lisp. He's trying. He's trying hard. He's trying. But it's clear that they're instructed to do this Mexican thing before the press conference. It's clear. It's almost like they're reading off a teleprompter. And I know what this is. And it's Keith playing the heel. And they have to inject the Mexican and Mexican American fan base into this because that's the only way you can sell American pay-per-views. We've talked about this. And the reason we've been talking is it's like instinctively we know that they're ramping this up right now because if it wasn't for the Mexican American fan base, the American boxing would be, for all intents and purposes, dead. Dead. So Keith knows this. They've instructed to do this. I know it. I know this. And Keith says, you're a flat-footed Mexican. And flat-footed Mexican, I've never lost to a Mexican. I would never lose to a flat-footed Mexican. Flat-footed Mexican. It's like, come on. Really? Really? And I'm not saying it's dumb to do, but I knew what was coming next. Keith, or Tim, you got anything to say as rebuttal to that? Of course. Of course. And he's going to, some would call it pandering. I don't think it's pandering, but it's a smart way to do it because why? We saw how Golovkin was promoted. And it rubbed some Mexican fans the wrong way. Others jumped on board. But Gennady Golovkin, Mexican style. And that's what Tim Tszyu said yesterday. Mexican style. I have a Mexican style. Stop disrespecting the Mexican fan base. What do you think that is, fellas? It's a Gennady Golovkin blueprint that's going to be carried out. It may rub some Mexican fans the wrong way, but what I would tell you is take it as a compliment at the same time. Some people are being turned off by it. Take it as a compliment if you're a Mexican boxing fan, because what they're telling you is they cannot do anything without you. They can't. They can't be in existence without you. They cannot make money without you. Keith Thurman's expendable. He's 35 years old. Like I said, he's fought 4 times the past 8 years, however long it's been. He's won 1 fight in the past 4 years. The PBC sees him as expendable. Yes, they put him at the top of the bill, but he's expendable. So go out there and play the heel. Disrespect the Mexican boxing fans for us. You're expendable anyway. And Keith might not know that. Keith might just think he's selling the fight, but he's expendable. But Tim Tszyu, you possibly have a long-term play here. He goes fight by fight with the PBC. Maybe PBC, once he gets popular enough, will try to make a long-term deal for him. And I would strongly advise him against ever doing a long-term deal with the PBC, by the way. And I've had boxing insiders tell me this. He's like, he needs to get the hell out of there. And I saw it yesterday, man. He looked so out of place at that press conference. And people aren't going to tell you that, but he looks so out of place there. You got Raleigh there. You got Isak there looking like if he was 2 inches shorter, he'd be a perfect circle. That dude looked obese yesterday, Isak. Obese. And Raleigh's Raleigh. Raleigh's got a life-size medallion of himself on his chain. If ever there were a poster board for the short bus in boxing, it would be Raleigh. And he's there, and Keith Thurman's there with his... He's trying, right? He's got his lisp. The hairline's pushed back. He's washed. He's washed. He hasn't gotten the memo that he's not popular anymore. PBC hasn't gotten the memo that this isn't 2016. It's 2024. And Tim Tszyu is just sitting there so out of place because he's the only real thing up there. And it's a sad part about this and the politics of American boxing is he has to be up there because in order to have access to these top fights at 154, other than maybe Virgil, he's got to play ball with the PBC. It's the frustrating part of this. And look, Glenn knows this. These guys know this. They know what's going on over here. They know the circus act it is. They know that we're underneath a circus tent. They know this stuff, but they know they got to play the games to get the fights. And once again, when I say stuff like that, it's tough navigating this because you're going to be called capping for Tim Tszyu, all this stuff. And then on the other hand, you're going to have Tim Tszyu fans get mad at me because they're going to want me to say this is the greatest pay-per-view main event of all time because Tim Tszyu is on it, all this stuff. But it's just a frustrating place to be. But I'll tell you what, this press conference yesterday was abysmal. It was a joke. That was sad. That was sad to watch. And when D Style and I were talking about this on the phone after the press conference, he's like, it was sad. Like, I almost just don't want to make fun of it because it's just sad. It's sad to watch. It's sad to watch. This is taking up too much space in the American boxing market, like this clown show. And it's there, and everybody sees it. Everybody talks about it in the back channels, but nobody wants to address it head on. You got fighters complaining about not being able to get dates for shows. And the people who do address this stuff head on just get destroyed. They get destroyed. Destroyed. Racist, whatever. Like, just destroyed. But it's so obvious. It's so in your face. They put Keith Thurman on a pay-per-view main event in 2024 as the face of the event. He's first on the poster. And they're selling you this at full price, full pay-per-view price. And then they're going to have the nerve, it looks like, to put Canelo versus Charlo next. And God only knows what they're going to do with Tank this summer. God only knows. It was awful. The press conference was awful. This was the most low-budget thing I've seen since the Blair Witch Project. I feel like I could have went there with my iPhone and filmed this. And they could have just put it on my YouTube channel. Could have showed up with my iPhone. They could have paid me $100 to do it. I'd have showed up. Why not? Just pay my plane ticket $100. I'll show up with the iPhone. What was that? The hell was that yesterday? What was it? I'm assuming, like, I have to ask the question. They went over to PBC, Amazon on Prime. They went over to Amazon Prime. 200 million consumers. It's like, okay, all right, let's see what they do with that. I already know where this is going, but let's see. And they're telling me I have to wait. We got to wait to see how it plays out, Calix. All right, we'll wait to see how it plays out. And the very beginning of it is a press conference, and it's not even on the app. So I have to assume at this, maybe let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's just dumb and they just forgot to call Amazon and say, hey, put this on the app, right? Or I don't know. I don't know what it could have been, but we all know what it is it costs money to get it on the app, and they don't want to fork over the money. And that's why, once again, I feel bad for a real fighter who shows up to this and he's not being promoted correctly. That's what I say about Morrell Jr. The good news for Tszyu is Tszyu, fight by fight, he can move around. He's got his freedom. And I'll tell you this, man. The fighters who have their freedom are going to win right now. They're going to win. You take risk because you're going fight by fight or 2-fight deal. But the fighters who have their freedoms, the Devin Haney's of the world, they're going to win. Dudes are disrespecting Devin Haney like that War Week radio guy that's always, every time I talk about the PBC, he tweets me about how he knows the boxing business and all that stuff. You can disrespect Devin Haney all you want in pay-per-view buys, but that guy is winning right now. Short-term deal. He's not locking himself into anybody long-term. Tszyu is going to win in the American market, fight by fight. He's got the freedom. He's got the freedom to go right back over to Australia, and No Limit can put the show on. They can distribute it pay-per-view over there and then push it over here, and any American TV market, any American network can pick it up and show it in the American market. Just the main event. It's got freedom. The fighters who are locked into long-term deals, they're going to die. Unless you're one of those big name fighters, I feel bad for the mid to low level guys locked into long-term deals because their managers told them to go get the front end high minimum long-term deals because they didn't trust that fighter to go out, fight by fight, and build up an organic fan base. And that's why the Golovkins won. Golovkin won. The anti-Golovkin people can say what they want. That dude won. In 2022, he was one of 2 fighters in the whole sport, I think. Him and Canelo that got 2 super fights. Went to Japan. He made whatever he made. I think 20 million, something like that. Whatever it was 8 figures to fight Murata in a unification fight. Sold out the arena. Then he comes back, makes over 20 million to fight Canelo. He won. He's one of a handful of fighters in the sport the past decade who has gotten real advertisement deals. Real deals. Jordan brand, etc. He won. And he won because he was great, number 1. Number 2 is he stayed active because he had a promoter who knew what he was doing and trusted him to go out and entertain and win. And he did that over a long period. And when you dudes hear me say that you need to be paying attention to this right now and what's happening here with Tszyu and his team, and you dudes will accuse me maybe of get off of Tszyu's nuts. I'm just telling you, man. I'm just telling you, this is the model of what you want to see right now, and this is the model. This is the way to win. This is the way to win. Whether you think he's going to be a great fighter or not, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me, that part. It's just you might want to reward that behavior because we want to get more of that. But dudes who have their freedom and entertain, they don't even have to win all the fights. The dudes who are doing that are going to win in this market. And these dudes who are being co-opted by their managers and by their yes men around them, trying to get easy money off of them and tell them to grab the easy money on the front end, and they're signing away their name, image, and likeness, and they're signing away their rights to come out and speak publicly about certain things, and they're signing away their freedom long term. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. That's the market we're in. This is what the reset looks like. PBC selling pay-per-views out of the car trunk. Yeah, straight no limit style, Nando. Straight Masterpiece style. This is Ghetto D. It's what it is. It's Ghetto D. Before Ghetto D, this is early no limit. Except this is late in PBC's game. Straight out the trunk of the car. Sad stuff. But yesterday was sad. That's terrible. And by the way, once again, 0 divided by 200 million will always be 0. And that's how many people were exposed to that press conference yesterday who have membership, who have membership to Amazon Prime. God bless. Peace.